do it, but sometimes the programs don't do it properly. But that's my whole point of clapping. Yeah, some people don't like. What are you clapping? So if you was that would be one of my commandments. Clap for audio.
First setup.
For audio. Anyways, welcome back to the Infectious
What?
podcast.
Why are you looking at me?
What am I looking at you for?
Yeah, well, I'm not the guest.
I'm looking. I was kind of like
Oh,
so the
sorry.
camera can see me.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to the Infectious podcast. We have a returning guest by popular demand. We have
Hi, I'm Lidia Garcia. I'm a hypnotherapist and clinical social worker,
and,
and I'm happy to be back again.
and we have a special guest. Can you introduce him?
His name's Giovanni, and he's sitting in his bag right
Giovanni.
now. Gigi, do you want
Special
to come out?
guest.
Come here.
Do you want to come out? Come
Maybe
out.
he'll make a guest appearance later. He looks cozy right now.
Gotta get him for the gram.
He's
He
funny.
doesn't
Right,
like
right.
me.
I think there's too many lights and cameras, and
Yeah, he's not ready for the
he
glitz and
wasn't ready
glamour.
for the fame.
He's a New York person, right? Transitioning to LA. He's like, I'm not ready for all that pressure. He'll come out when he's ready. Anyways, we're back again, and we're back to kind of revisit some of the stuff we talked about, but kind of like clarify and kind of put into terms to some people that might not understand what a hypnotist, what a clinical hypnotist does.
Mhm.
Okay, so we talk about something that you might have experienced or something that kind of you focused on this week as it relates to your practice.
Oh, like something that someone would have gone through. this
Gone
week
through
that
or
we've
or,
talked
or
about.
something or not even because I know obviously for
Yeah.
like for
Confidentiality. We
yes.
don't talk about all
So
that.
I mean more in the sense of something that's in your mind this week as it relates to your profession and something that I mean at least I try to do that every week.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know what you're saying. So, generally, something that has been front of mind and that has been coming up around me, um, either with clients or with people that I see around, are a lot of body image issues. Um, and I think that that's coming up right now because some of my clients are athletic or competitive people who are running races, and they're back to running races, and they're back to feeling very exposed in the uniforms that they wear or in running and racing attire generally, especially coming out of this pandemic and everything, where we haven't really seen each other and that much skin from each other out in the streets, right? So I've been seeing a lot of posts and hearing a lot from people about their insecurities with their bodies. And so the exploration has been trying to figure out where that standard of beauty came from for that person. Because obviously, like, we get a lot of those standards of beauty or standards of what our bodies should look like from the media that we see around. It's always advertising, or it's different things like that we see from magazines or whatever, right? But usually there's a point in a person's life where they started to feel unworthy or uncomfortable in their skin, and something drove them there. So exploring a little bit more of like, what was that moment, and how can we untangle that to realize that it's not the truth,
Mm-hmm.
that your body is exactly how it's supposed to be. And especially if you're training or you're running or you're doing, you're taking care of it, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. It isn't, there's nothing wrong. So that's something that has been a current exploration.
Yeah, that's crazy because that's something I think about for myself too. But running, just in general, is so intensive. So like a lot of runners are fit, and they have ideal like the average person who doesn't run. A runner's body, a physique, would be an ideal, goal for them. So the fact that like runners, especially ones that consistently train, like they have bodies that so it's like everyone, it's like one man's goal is another. We always
Yeah.
envy what we don't have.
Right.
It's like we have these standards, like we hold ourselves to these high standards that are kind of a lot of times unrealistic because we're all so different from each other. It's like we can have the same regimen, but we have different body types.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that like we might have like runners for the most part have like great physiques because it's so intensive, right?
Sure, yeah. It is very intensive, but then people change along the course of their life, or maybe you do other things too. Like running's not the only thing in the world
Mm-hmm.
to create a healthy lifestyle, right? I think there could be a point where if you're using running to achieve some physique that you've made up in your mind or that you think that you should achieve, then it becomes an unhealthy lifestyle, right? Because then it becomes mentally and emotionally destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'll see things. There was recently, or it just came out this week. It was like um, talking about the Oregon team, like the Oregon track club, and how they have doctors and nutritionists who were weighing and like taking the body fat percentages
Mm-hmm.
of the female athletes there, and how that really messed them up. Like it created a lot of eating disorders. It created a lot of like stress and anxiety in these young girls or young women, and they developed like self-harming behavior. And so there's a professional athlete or former professional athlete who created a post after that I saw on Instagram, and she was talking about how she raced the New York City Marathon and came in third place, I think. It has like the American, like the fastest American time for that course
Mm-hmm.
was Kara Goucher.
Okay, gotcha.
But she was talking about I didn't have abs in this picture. There's skin coming over my shorts. If you look at my butt, there's cellulite. And it was great that she kind of posted that, but I felt almost like, and I saw people reposting it, and I felt almost like you don't need to get external validation for your body. Like you don't need
Mm-hmm.
permission from from a professional athlete or anybody to live in your body and to like perform in your body. So I know that she was trying to say, she was trying to speak out against what was happening on the Oregon track team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she could have just spoke out about the Oregon track team and not put her body on display in a way that brings attention to make other people look at their own bodies. Do you know what I'm kind of saying?
Yes, like to be critical of yourself versus.
Yeah, like to say, yeah, yeah,
So
to
it's
end
like
up being critical
it's
of
like
yourself.
if it's
And
like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, and then to have these criticisms of your own body and then think that, well, Kara Goucher gave me permission to have extra skin over my shorts, but those things don't even really exist. Like if you looked at her body and you looked at the way that her body looked, like there is nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
like the cellulite that she's talking about, you'd kind of have to like squint and zoom in to find, and that's almost perpetuating that self-hate. Like
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't have a high body fat percentage. There wasn't anything wrong with what was going on her body on the day of that race, but to bring attention to it as if there is kind of makes women who see her as a role model feel that there is something wrong with their body if they have a little bit extra than
Mm-hmm.
she even displayed there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the thing is too is people comparing themselves to like professional images that are touched up. So we hold ourselves to these standards that aren't even realistic to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and then we become so critical of ourselves because we can't reach this standard. But no one can reach, for the most part. No one's reaching this standard. It's just like it's fantasy. It's like,
Yeah.
and we live a lot of fantasy. Like I think I mentioned prior to this, it's like people's perception of what it is to be, hypnotist is what the media perceives it to be
Mm-hmm.
as like this cinematic thing where
Yeah.
someone hypnotizes you with some type of like,
Uh,
tool to
yeah, like a watch, a
yeah.
pocket watch.
But like
Yeah.
how it really looks in real life is more like a clinical of how you
Mhm.
said you have you use tools to kind of have people visualize.
Mhm.
There's no like
There's no pocket watch.
there's no pocket watch. But it's like we think about it as it relates to like media and how it presents it. But
Mhm.
so again, that thing that relates to kind of like
Yep.
unrealistic standards.
Right. unrealistic standards, or just the idea of that we have of things that we kind of just make up, like you're saying, based on
Mm-hmm.
media or based on what we see in the movies. And um, just like social media, or just like all of that's fake. All of that is like, that's not someone's real life. Um, so, the real life stuff is much different.
Mm-hmm.
So today we will do a little bit of hypnotherapy. I'll do a guided for you guys,
Yeah.
and and you'll get to feel, and the audience at home will get to feel what it feels like to be under hypnosis, and to
Mm-hmm.
kind of explore in like a guided setting, and we'll make it fun.
Yeah. I think this too for me, like what you're saying, it also relates to me myself. So I think you doing a kind of a exhibition session,
Mhm.
but for me, I mean, I've been running most of my life, but like the last couple years, I've I've obviously, well, becoming an adult. One thing I wasn't prepared for is like having to balance responsibilities, and with that, I think everyone has to balance responsibilities, but um, we end up not having time to like take care of ourselves a lot of times.
Mhm.
So even if you were, as a in high school, you were an athlete and all you did was run and go to school. That's all you did. But now you have like work and cost of living.
Mhm.
So for me, I gain some weight. So I fluctuate between my weight, and sometimes I do say things to myself about about being a little heavier than I used to be. And then sometimes I say it, and I kind of give it life, and then other people are like, I don't see that. But it's kind of what you're talking about, how we say these things and we get caught up, uh, and we forget that, like, you know, uh, life is all about ups and downs. It's all about, and we're running too. You get in shape and you reach your peak fitness, and then you go back down. But you never peak fitness is never like sustained for forever.
Mm-mm.
You come down. It's like even in bodybuilding, they bulk during the winter. In the summer, they get shredded or they get ripped.
Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable
It's
for the
not
most part
sustainable.
to always be huge and ripped as it relates to bodybuilding. But with running, you can never really reach the low body fat, like at least hold it or
And
reach the
hold that
peakness
fitness, right? Hold that fitness for
levels.
too long, because you're always kind of towing that line between like health and like being able to perform, or like getting super injured or getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
And because your immune system kind of starts to get a little wonky, right? When you're
Mm-hmm.
that fit. And you're pushing your body that hard, like mentally and physically, it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I don't think it is anyway. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there is gonna is gonna kind of
Think
is gonna
say
tell us
otherwise.
the other way, and back it up. So that'll be cool.
We also have to remember that our body types are specific to ourselves.
Hmm.
So there are people who are genetically gifted and can hold low body
Totally.
fat without having to try.
True.
So we have to remind ourselves that our bodies are different, because some
Right.
people, we all have different body
We're
types.
not all suited to the same things
We're
either.
not.
Like not everybody is gonna be a runner. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm like, this is the dumbest sport. I wish I was doing something else. This takes up too much of my time. But my body is suited to this kind of endurance
Mm-hmm.
sport. It's suited to that stuff, and I'm not as coordinated as I'd like to be a to play basketball or do something else, right? Um, but yeah, you were saying, you know, the fluctuations that you've experienced, or the things that you've experienced as an athlete, and how you might feel a certain way about yourself, but other people won't see it. And that's true. Like there sometimes we are telling ourselves a story, and since we're telling ourselves this thing over and over again, then when we look in the mirror, we think that we see a different perception of our body than what everybody
Mm-hmm.
else actually does.
Hmm.
Um,
I hate how I look in the mirror to myself. I try to avoid myself,
yeah,
sadly.
yeah. It's not, and there's nothing wrong, right? Like there's actually nothing wrong. It's that we have this idea in our head of what an ideal body type and physique is, and then we're comparing ourselves to that. And in reality, there's all different types of bodies, and they're all exactly the way they're supposed to be, and they're
Mm-hmm.
functioning, and they're, you know, if you're eating
Yeah.
right, you're exercising, you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing for yourself, then like
Yes, I've been in situations myself where like I'm feeling insecure about myself, about my body, and then like someone at the gym when I used to go to the gym coming up to me and being like, "What do you do? How do you achieve your that type of body? Like, how do you what do you do?" And I'm like, "This is how I am naturally." It's like,
yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy to
it's
me
my
because
body is
like
suited to. Yeah.
I know no one sees me on the camera right now, but I'm a bigger guy. But I've had this talk with Steven too, and he's like, man, I'm like I gained weight, but since I'm a bigger guy, I look at him and I'm like, I wish I had your problem. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I was your shape right now and had to lose a little bit of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. To me, I feel like if I dropped 100 pounds, then I would feel more like loving to myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big guy, but then sometimes I look in my mirror and I'm like, I ain't that big. I've seen bigger. But then I'm just like, nah, I still need to drop weight.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's that like men's beauty standards is not really talked about
No,
enough.
it's
And
not.
that's why like men's depression and mental health is more, you know, like they say men take their lives more than anything, you know? So
Yeah,
I'm just
there's
like,
like the you
suicide
mean
rate.
suicide?
yeah, the
Suicide
suicide
rates
rate
in
is
men
very high in
are
men.
much higher.
And it's just like crazy to me because like I don't know, especially in the industry I work in. There's like plus size love for a lot of plus size women and stuff, but I still feel like the men are still kind of tossed in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like a topic that's just like crazy to me.
Yeah, and a lot of times too. I mean, yes, we have plus size models now, but we don't have anything in between. So we have like the super skinny models, and then we have the plus size models.
That's
But we
true. It's
don't
like a
have,
jump.
yeah, there's just a big jump, and there isn't like the in between of, you know, someone who can feel normal, I want to say, you know. And then what you're saying too, like you look at Steven and you're like, dude, I wish I had your problems. That's kind of how I felt when I looked at that Kara Goucher post. It was like people are going to perceive this, are going to look at this and be like, damn, I wish I had that cellulite where I had to zoom in and try to like squint to find, you know what I mean? It
Right.
almost becomes offensive to see a role model kind of um, perceive herself in that way when you want them to be a healthy role model, right? And
Mhm.
I think for the most part she is, um, and she probably wasn't thinking any of that, but I always like to think in these crazy abstract ways, and maybe that's my downfall, right? But
Right.
I don't know. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, but then it's like you want to be able to find ways of really loving yourself how you are, and we talked about that last time
Mhm.
too, like creating those pathways to self-love. And it's true that boys, men, they're taught to like just be tough, to like not have feelings, to not um, be emotional, to not express it, to not to kind of suck it up,
Mhm.
to all of that.
Right.
And a lot of times women are also taught to protect those feelings for men, and be small, stand back, not call someone out
Mhm.
when it's offensive or hurting them or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but that's almost how we all start to learn to express feeling and emotion. And men are not men are not encouraged to express that feeling, to say, hey dude, you know, when you talk about your body in that way, it makes me feel it makes me feel bad about myself. Like, next time, can we approach the subject in a different way or something
Right.
like that?
Like learn how to talk to yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think my weight is probably one of my biggest insecurities. And I've been told personally by many people in my lifetime, oh, if you lost weight, like all the girls would want you, or if you lost weight, you look so much better. I'm like, thanks. Like I don't even know how to
Yeah.
take that, you know. So it's
So
just
it's like,
like,
oh, then the girl wants me for what? Like,
yeah,
but then that's why wouldn't she just want me now? Like with the
yeah.
human being that I am
Mhm.
today? Like,
Because even if I look at like throwback photos from like 7 years ago, I look at them now and I'm like, wow, I was so sexy. Like I was so. I thought back then I looked big,
mm.
but now I see it now. I'm like, wow, I'm big now. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Well, what do you feel holds you back now from, like, are you actively trying to lose weight, or are you actively trying to like eat healthier, exercise, things like that?
Not currently,
Okay.
but like I do little things here and there. Like I did kickboxing, and then I'm like, wow, I think I need to ease my way in instead of
Hmm.
doing a class that's so intense right away.
And then you're all sore
Yeah,
for
so I'm
like
already
a
like
week.
beat off of one day, and I'm like, this was a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah. What holds you back from, what do you feel holds you back from getting into a routine or sticking to a habit like that?
I think it's like I just have it's hard for me to focus on one thing. Like I have all these thoughts in my head, and it's so hard for me to commit to things. I think it's like my ADD or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I find something that I'm passionate about, and I jump all into it, and it's hard for me to like do it for my body and my self care.
Mm-hmm.
But like anything that I think is artistic and creative, like I'm all for it. When it comes to like my health, I don't know, if it's not fun for me,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't enjoy it. That's why I'm trying to get into like boxing, because
Yeah.
that's fun to me, like something like that. But if it's just like going to the gym, doing weights, doing the running, that's just like a chore to me, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound fun, you
Yeah,
know?
I think that some of those are for very specific types of personalities. And like what you're describing is like wanting something that's more engaging, right? So you want something that challenges you, because to go to the gym and kind of like lift weights like a robot, or like go run on a treadmill like a robot, it gets boring.
Right. And
It
then also
really
paying
does.
an extra monthly fee. It's like all this
Yeah.
financial thing. And then,
Hmm.
yeah. But
Yeah.
those sounds just like excuses to anyone else who like works out. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he's just making excuses.
But
Yeah.
you know what? Exercise is a privilege. So like for you, like you brought up the fees of like how much it costs to enter that space. If you're going to be going to a gym, it's not free. Um I mean, out here they're much cheaper, right? Like in New York, it would be like $100 a month would be like the cheapest gym you're gonna find. Out here, like what? It's like 30 or 40 or something like
40,
that.
50, 60. Yeah, depends
Yeah.
where you go.
Um, and even though that's cheaper than like the most expensive city in the world, it's still expensive. And it's still hard to kind of justify that cost if you also have to pay for other things, right?
Right.
So we kind of forget sometimes that exercise is a privilege, and sometimes even the outdoors is a privilege.
Right. But I guess that circles back to like the whole thing, like the whole situation we're talking about. Like, I shouldn't have to feel like, in order to be beautiful or attractive, I would have to be in shape. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, right. Because sometimes those things are very temporary. We think about like plastic surgery and stuff like that. They're like these quick fixes for what might be actually a pretty ugly interior, right? Not always, of course, but like
Mhm. You're still gonna deal with the mental issues that have. You just kind of using doing a band-aid solution, right?
a
By
band
getting.
aid solution, right? Where like when really it's confidence that's the sexy thing. Like you could be any size, and if you had that confidence and like that, um, where like your self love is actually kind of projecting out of you, then people see that and they're attracted to it. It's much different than, you could still be, you could have a six pack abs and like all that stuff and still feel really insecure and people not wanting to be next to you. Like it's not about the abs. It's not about like the body percentage. It's not about any of that. It's way deeper, and it's like more internal.
That's true. I also think like at this age that we mentioned the last time you were here, that this was the age and like where I actually loved myself the most I've ever loved myself. And
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I know that it's like that's probably one reason why I'm like not in a rush to work out, because I love who I am right now. But then there's those days where it's like I look at myself and I'm like, damn, I need to do something, you know?
Mhm.
But then I go on with my day because I'm just so positive, and
Mhm.
so like I just keep my energy in a different mindset, you know?
Yeah, and that's important. I was just talking to someone today, and he was telling me how he got into running and how he got into exercise, and he became vegan and stuff. And it was because when he turned 50, he found out he was pre-diabetic. He was like obese, and it was like too much. It was like he needed, it was that kind of like moment of mortality where it was like I need to take care and start taking care of myself, because I have other things going on in my life. Like I have a business, I have a family, I have people who love me, or like all that kind of stuff. And I need to take control of this. So people, I think, get to those points at different stages of their life and under different circumstances, whatever they're going to be. But, um, it's important to kind of recognize it and do something when you can, I think.
Hmm. I think too is what Gabriel was talking about too, like because we all deal with these issues, but it's like because same thing for me. Like I was before going out of town, I got an emotion, and it's the thing you get into these rhythms in your life, where whatever that rhythm is at the time, whether it's working out, and then, but the point that I'm trying to make is like we have to adapt uh, as lifestyle routines that we enjoy because
Yeah.
if for me I used to go to the gym and I didn't really enjoy it. That wasn't for me. I've always enjoyed running, and that's one thing that I learned. It's about maintaining like a healthy lifestyle, for at least for myself. My expectation of a healthy lifestyle includes running because it's something that I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like for me it's soothing, it's therapy for me, and it's for everyone else. Like for my friend Gabe here, he has to find
Yeah. Find the thing that
his
you
therapy,
enjoy.
his form of therapy, with whether it's kickboxing, because running isn't for him the way it is for me. You have to adapt these long term plans because a lot of times now people have like these keto diets, and it's just kind of more short term.
Yeah. Or
Like
intermittent fasting and all this.
yes,
It's like
and then they want, it's like,
really
oh, well, I
bad.
was skinny while I was doing this diet, but then I go back to my normal weight once I go back,
But my body was starving the whole time, and so the second that I ate a piece of bread, like,
and that's not sustainable.
no.
So it's like it's all about sustainability, even in our personal health,
Mm-hmm.
as it is to being living sustainable lives as it pertains to like the environment, but also so it's like a full circle thing where like yes, the environment is important, but just as important is your health. So adapting like a healthy lifestyle that's sustainable for you
Mm-hmm.
because you're unique to your own individuality, that it's like adapt things that make you happy.
Yeah, exactly. Like completely, because you have to find something that's going to be sustainable for you,
Hmm.
and you have to find something that's going to bring you joy, like more than anything else. And learning different tips or different ways of like making something that might not be so fun, like maybe in the start kickboxing isn't actually that fun because there's like a whole little curve of when you've got to get back into shape, but it's almost like that part of getting into shape is like a video game. Like it's almost like the fun part. Like it's almost like that's where it's actually like the work and like the dirty pieces. Cuz then once you're already in shape, then it's it's great. It feels good. Um but the getting in shape and like the getting further and further along is the game that makes it fun. Does that kind of make
The
sense?
journey, it's the
Yeah, the
journey, right?
journey is like, what is that Kobe quote when he's like, the journey is actually the dream. Like living the dream is actually the journey. It isn't, and all the pieces that go into that. It's waking up early and it's like doing all of those pieces of work that
Hmm.
like get you there, because that part's the dream. It isn't the championship ring at the end of the season,
Yeah,
right? It's actually all the pieces that went in into the inside of it.
because I know a lot of people that have had success in their field. They always talk about like, I wish I can go back and relive it. And it's a thing. It's like we have to enjoy the process, which the process a lot of times is our life, because at some point in our life we potentially might reach that form of success that's your idea of success. So we have to kind of adapt things to enjoy the journey, because it's like I've also heard this. I used to think like this in the past. I used to think when I was younger, as a young person, a lot of times we're unhappy because we're trying to figure out who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my whole thought process was, yes, I'm unhappy right now because I haven't figured out who I am, but I'll be happy when I reach this form of success, which at the time was like, I'm going to become a successful working Hollywood actor. And once I reach that, I'll be happy. But then I remembered someone telling me, I think it was my older
But then
brother.
Oscar Isaac stole that from you.
um, But yes, and then someone, my older brother told me, it's like you have to learn to be happy now because you have. He said enjoy the journey, and that's the thing.
Mhm.
We have to enjoy the journey because we won't be able to repeat it again after it's past us. So the prize a lot of times is the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like what midlife crises are about, right? Or like it's like, oh shit, where'd my life go? And it's like, oh, I wish I could be 25 again.
Exactly.
But you don't get to be 25 again. You don't get to do that again.
Yeah.
So that also means that you don't get to be this right now again. And the past is already ended and the future isn't there yet, right? You only have right now and whatever you have
Hmm.
in this moment. So yeah, enjoy what you have here and and honor that, because you don't get it back.
Yeah. Could you, since it relates to what we've been talking about, could you, uh, with our individual issues, I guess I feel like they're very general and they respond like body image, right? And what we've been talking about, could we do an exercise that you would do to someone, that a client of yours that might
Mhm.
come to you with a similar issue about body image?
Yes, so we have talked a lot about body image and what that feels like and how you might feel about yourself. But the thing around it is less about like the physical body and like the individual parts of the body. What we're going to do today is I'm going to do a guided relaxation where you're going to really honor all of the pieces of your body for what they do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are going to start to free you from the things that hold you back, that are weighing you down, like weighing you down to believe your your body or yourself isn't good enough. So those doubts that you might have, we're going to release them and give you a feeling of freedom and like of lightness, and it's really just freedom. It's really freedom and like escape, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can feel more connected to yourself and less tied down to um, any preconceptions that you might have had about yourselves, and what your place is.
Mm-hmm. Let's do
Let's do
it.
it. Okay, but well, to do that, hold on.
All
I'm
right.
gonna take some notes.
Okay.
So this is a little bit like what I would do in like a real session. We would we would talk much more specifically. Right now, obviously, we're doing a podcast, so we're talking a little bit generally about a lot of stuff and just kind of also giving our opinions a lot. Oh, look, Giovanni is making an appearance. Hi, baby.
Come join us.
um, he often makes appearances in sessions too.
Yeah.
um, but in a real session, we would talk much more specifically about how you feel and why you feel the ways that you might feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for this, I want to get some keywords from you guys. I want you to imagine right now that you are. Close your eyes. Both
I was
of
about
you.
to ask, should we
Yeah.
close
Should
our
we
eyes?
close our eyes?
Close your eyes. And I want you both to just imagine
Mm-hmm.
that you're a balloon.
Okay.
So you're like a helium balloon. And you can make yourself any color that you want to make yourself, any size that you want to make yourself. You're just a helium balloon. And all that you want in the world is to be able to float away and to fly up and get a bigger view of the world. But there's something holding you down. And it could be a word, a feeling, an expression. But I want you to just kind of see what that word is. And I'm going to invite each of you to give me 2 words each. So when you're ready and you have your word, you can open your eyes.
I'm ready. And this is our fear.
This is your pre-hypnosis. Yeah, your fear.
Your
biggest
fear.
It's fear?
No. It's, I guess it's fear, but it's more, the fear specifically is, I want to say abandonment, but more like being alone. So would alone be the word?
Loneliness.
Loneliness. Okay. Yes.
Any other words?
Another word. It's insecurity. Is that
Yeah, insecurity.
Yeah.
Or we can say,
not enough? Is that or
Yeah, feelings of not being enough.
Hmm.
Self-doubt. We'll call it
Self doubt.
self-doubt.
Let's do. Yeah, that's more specific.
Yeah, I think like self doubt and like motivation.
Lack of motivation. So, okay. Like maybe it's stagnant.
Hmm.
But I think I'm thinking literal. Like
Okay.
I'm thinking of like what would hold me from floating.
What holds you from floating down?
You know.
So, lack of motivation.
But I'm probably thinking of like one physical
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah, yeah.
I interpret it as
not like my whole full
fear.
length lifetime.
Fear being like a rope that's holding me from like elevating as a
Mhm.
balloon. So that's for me. Fear is holding. Is a
Fear's like
rope that's keeping
like
that anchoring me down, to being able to elevate, and
excellent.
that's where I'm the way I visualized it.
What would happen if you had the motivation?
Because I think my head instantly went to like body image again. So I was like, well, my motivation is right now not for like losing weight yet, and I think that's what I was thinking towards. But
Okay.
if I don't know if you were thinking like just life in general.
Yeah. Well, my thing is one thing that I always think too is like you see a lot of times people who have reached the pinnacle, at least the pinnacle of what I want to succeed in,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's filmmaking or something, and a lot of times I feel like these people become lonely in their success, and they become either addicts or they develop mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a way that's a fear of mine because I'm like, if I reach success, will I be there too? And because that's like we all deal with some form of like mental health issue.
Yeah,
Like,
like how will I cope with that?
how would I cope with that? So it's like,
I'll be right there with you, baby.
So that's almost like that's loneliness and abandonment. Um, so I have loneliness, I have self-doubt, I have fear, and I need one more. I need one more negative that you guys are that you feel is holding you back. Because motivation is almost like having motivation is a positive, but lacking motivation is the negative. But I want to call it something else, and I can't think of a word. I can't think of the word of what I
Not
want to call it.
laziness, right?
would anxiety be one?
Anxiety. Yeah, anxiety. Is there an anxious feeling around it?
For me, there is.
Not for me.
I think fear/anxiety. Okay, so we're just going to call it a lack of motivation. But is the lack of motivation the thing that keeps you from wanting to reach it, or is there something else? Like, for example, and I'm just going to go like straight to it. Do you start to feel uncertain of your body or uncertain of yourself when you're in a space where other people are exercising and you feel like they might be more fit than you?
No, not when I'm like going to a gym, but there's like in my industry, in my workforce, I always think like, man, I'm the fattest one here. There's
So there's
times.
almost like a shame, like a self
Yeah,
shame.
that's a good one.
We're gonna call it shame because I think that's where it actually sits.
And it's random times too. It's not every day. It's just like one day I'm like, oh, I feel big today.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense too. Okay. So, guys and people at home, I'm going to invite you to, you can, does anybody want to lay on this couch? If you just feel like it, like, I think we're going to, I don't know what you have to move dog.
I would be okay with him laying on me too. It would help
You
having
can
a
you
force.
can also do it from right where you're sitting.
Okay, I'll do it from where
So
I'm
you
sitting.
guys can do it right from where you're
Okay.
sitting, but you're gonna uncross your feet,
Mhm.
uncross your hands, just leave them there on your tops of your legs.
Okay.
If you're at home and you're wearing glasses or anything, take those off. You can also lay down and kind of like recline.
Okay.
Um, just make yourself as comfortable as you can in the place that you're at right now. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to have you open your eyes, and I want you to focus your eyes on one spot just ahead of you. So it can be something on your ceiling. It can be something just wherever it is in your line of vision. And just focus your eyes on that one spot. And as you do, I just want you to start breathing in through your nose naturally. And then breathing out through your mouth naturally. And And just keep that breath going. And as you do, focusing your eyes on that one spot, I want you to feel your eyelids beginning to get heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier, until they just naturally, on one of these breaths, decide to close. And that feels really good, just to close your eyes and just to let them rest. And with your eyes closed, we're going to start to take some deeper breaths now. I want you to breathe in through your nose and feel that breath as it enters your body, filling your lungs all the way to their fullest capacity. And when it's right there at its fullest capacity, I want you to hold that breath and then exhale out completely and deeply, imagining you're squeezing your lungs of all the oxygen in there. And repeating this process of breathing in through your nose and filling up your lungs as if they're two big balloons. Hold it at the top and then exhale out, just allowing yourself to release, relax, and let go. The breath is always signaling to your body that now is the time to relax and now is the time to go within. Very good. So I'm going to invite you now to think about the very top of your head and just imagine the crown of your head. And imagine that there's a calm, tingling sensation beginning to form here. And that calm sensation begins to relax out all of the muscles on the very top of your scalp. And that sensation of relaxation begins to drift now over your forehead, your eyelids, your cheekbones, all the way down your jawline, over your lips and down your neck. Imagine it like a cool wave of water that might have poured over your head and cascades down your back, over your shoulders, and down the tops of your arms. And as it reaches the tops of your arms and the shoulders, you can imagine and you can picture or pretend that you feel something lifting from there. It starts to get looser and more relaxed at the top of your shoulders. And as the sensation of relaxation begins to move down the crooks of the elbows to the forearms, all the way to the palms of the hands and the fingertips, imagine that you can picture those fingertips opening up like faucets and pouring from every single finger goes any stress, any tension, any anxiety, pours away from your body and out into the universe away from you. Bringing your attention to your center body now, to your chest, your back, your abdomen, and taking a deep look at what's in here. Imagining that your heart, your lungs, your intestines, your stomach, all of your internal organs are protected here. And giving them a thank you for how they function in your body every day without you even needing to do anything. Give yourself some appreciation right now for the way that this body works without you needing to do a thing. Allowing a relaxation to come into this part of your body and a trust being built with your intuition center. Allow the sensation of relaxation to move over your hips, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, all the way down your knees to your calves and your shins. Thinking about your legs from the top of your hip bones down to the top of your ankles, and thanking them in your mind for their strength, for taking you to the places that you've been, for holding you in the place that you are, and for exploring the places that you'll go. Taking that appreciation down to your feet, from the heels to the bottoms of your feet, the arches, the tops of your feet to the tips of your toes. Allowing those toes to open up like faucets, imagining that they're pouring out anything in your legs, any toxins, anything that was holding you back, keeping you from moving before. It's getting rid of all of that. It's getting rid of the hesitation that you might have felt in achieving new things, exploring new ideas, new places, new adventures. I'm going to begin to count down now from 5 to 0, and as I do, your body will just relax a little bit deeper, a little further, a little more. So beginning at 5, allowing yourself just to relax and let go at 4, dropping down at 3, 2, 1, and 0. Just allowing yourself to release, relax, and let go. Just letting your mind be open, your body be calm. And I want you to imagine that you can look right directly from that mind's eye, that center space in your forehead, right between the eyebrows, through that third eye. Imagine opening it up, looking straight down at the ground, and seeing yourself walking along a path. This path maybe is paved, maybe it has wood chips, maybe it's dirt. Whatever it is, you can feel the ground beneath your feet. You can feel the gravel or the pavement. And with every step that you take, you feel very calm and like you're intentionally moving towards a direction. To your right and to your left, you can see trees of a bunch of different varieties, species, and sizes. Through the leaves, you can see the mottled sunlight. You can hear birds, squirrels scurrying around. You can smell the scent of the leaves, maybe wet dirt. And as you continue walking, you notice yourself coming to a clearing. And in this clearing is a bright green meadow with grass that's vibrant, almost neon green. And sitting right in the center of that meadow is a hot air balloon. And you can see its beautiful colors along the panels and its big wicker basket. And something about it calls to you. Something about it makes you feel magnetized. And you know that this is for you. So you walk over, almost gliding over, and make your way to the basket, and you hop in. And when you do, you look around to try to get the balloon to float away, to take you on this journey, but it's tied to the ground by 4 heavy sandbags. So you find inside of the basket a cutting tool. Maybe it's a big knife or a machete or whatever you find. And you take hold of the first rope at one corner of the basket. And you look down and you see that the bag is labeled. This bag is labeled fear. F-E-A-R, fear. And you take hold of your tool and you start cutting away at the rope. And as you do, you start to see the rope fray. You start to see the rope begin to break a little bit. And this rope might be really heavy for you. It might be really thick to get through, but you cut and you saw and you saw and you saw. And eventually, that bag falls to the floor. Fear and anxiety falls to the floor, and you feel the balloon jostle just a little bit, lifting up very slightly from the ground. Move over to the next bag. This one is heavier than the one before. It's something that you've feared and worried about for a really long time. You grab hold of the rope and you look at the bag, and it's labeled loneliness, the fear of abandonment, being by yourself, not having anyone with you. And you can feel all of those feelings rising in your chest as you start to cut away at the rope, sawing and seeing the rope fray. You work and you work and you work until it plops to the ground, and you can feel the balloon jostle again, lifting you a little bit higher off the ground. Moving over to the next one. This bag is also heavy. Also really, really scares you. It's labeled self-doubt. You take a hold of the rope and you start to saw away all of the reasons that you have for yourself to think that you're not good enough are going away as you saw through these little pieces of rope. With every fray, every tangle, you can feel that self-doubt get lighter and lighter, moving further and further away from you, and it plops to the ground, and your balloon flies up. But there's one more left, keeping you from really soaring above the clouds. So, you move over to the last bag. You take a hold of the rope, and you look at what it says. This bag is labeled shame. Maybe it's also tied to that self-doubt a little bit, but that shame is what's keeping you tethered to the ground. That fear of not being deserving is tethering you to the ground. So feel yourself cutting through that rope, fraying all its edges, and working your way to leave shame on the ground where it belongs. And as you do, as you make it all the way through, you can feel the balloon lift as that shame plops to the ground. And now you're soaring high. You're up there with birds. You're up there in the clouds. You're up there in the blue sky, looking over that forest that you just walked out of, seeing its vastness, realizing that the forest and the trees that are planted there are all of the experiences that you've had up to this point, and that they create a beautiful existence, a beautiful world for who you are and where you're going. There's mountains on the horizon. There's an ocean. There's wildlife. There's so many beautiful things that you've created, and space to continue creating more. But this is your motivation. This is your purpose. To have that higher perspective and to create something for you that you feel proud of. Knowing that without shame, without self-doubt, without fear, without loneliness, without that fear of abandonment, the sky's the limit. So feel what it feels like right now to have the wind on your skin, the warmth of the sun, and this lightness, this freedom to float and to fly and to be whatever you want to be. It's time to start bringing your balloon a little bit back down. So thank all of the images for appearing to you now. Take what you need from this moment and leave behind whatever you don't. The things that no longer serve you are staying here. But know that this sensation of freedom and flight is always available to you. You are the creator. Begin to bring your balloon back down to the earth, feeling it land softly on that green grass, stepping yourself out of the balloon. Begin walking back into the forest, back to that path. I'll begin counting you up now from 0 to 5, and at 5 your eyes will be open. You'll be wide awake and alert with a positive sense of self and motivation. Beginning at 0, where there's always a tendency to relax a tiny bit deeper. 1, an awareness of your body, where you've placed yourself and the room that you're in. 2, a tingling sensation along the surface of your skin. 3, a positive sense of well-being and trust in yourself. 4, and 5, eyes open, wide awake, and alert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake, and alert. Thanks, guys. Nice naps. Just kidding.
Wow, that's a perfect.
Any takeaways? What do you guys see anything? Feel anything?
I was just seeing everything you're saying like vividly. I'm very like when I read books and stuff, I don't know the name for it, but
What?
some people don't have it. Where you read a book, you can actually
Fantasy, like
you could
Imagination?
actually have the yeah, but people can actually see imagery
That's
when
great.
they're reading a story or being told something, and
Mhm.
I pictured that all the time, and I thought everyone could do that, but apparently not everyone.
Not everybody can do that,
Not
and
everyone
the
can do
mind
that.
speaks in different ways, right? So like for some people, I really like imagery kind of for the same reasons that you do. I can imagine things in that same way and feel them in that same way.
Right.
And I really like it because I think sometimes when our bodies can't or we can't express our emotions verbally, we can express it creatively. We can express it with imagery in a way that's more comfortable for us. It's like that's why like I think art therapy is really cool
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Because when you were saying to bring the balloon back down, I saw myself going back when I landed and was saying goodbye to the balloon, like if it was like a
Bye,
movie, like a
friend.
movie. I was like, I'll see you again, like magical, like
It just reminded
I
me
just
of
like did like one last tap, like
yeah, like
that
the
was fun,
movie, the
you
movie
know?
Elf. It reminds me of Elf when he
Yeah.
leaves and the narwhal's like, "Bye, buddy. Hope
Yeah.
you find your dad."
In my head, I just looked at it like that was fun. Like
Yeah,
I'll see
yeah.
you again, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Like we'll be back.
But my mind is constantly racing a lot of different ideas and my life journey to get to where I'm at, and then like I would see myself cutting the rope fast,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would say, "And you're barely cutting through," so I would rewind, like, and I'd try to keep cutting slow, but in my mind I was already snatching it,
Yeah.
and then when it got to like the shame, I said, "I'm cutting that shit right off, and like I'm not even gonna hold back."
Yeah,
I
because
just like,
and for some people it's like, yeah, let me cut through this fast. For other people it's like, let me get through this intentionally and slow and like really know that it's dead now, or like really know that like I'm in this process of like healing from whatever this is. You know, really giving yourself that. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong in the speed of how you were to cut it, but sometimes we do need to slow ourselves down. Um, Sometimes we do need to slow down if we do everything really quick, and like cutting it slowly is ends up being kind of symbolic and meaningful.
yeah.
How
What
do
about
you
you?
feel?
I know I felt like elevated. I felt like out of body experience. I felt like if 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 I was to do shrooms, that's what the experience was. I mean, I've done shrooms, but that's not what I experienced. I felt like it was like that movies in Narnia. That's what I felt like. It was like some type of like physical fantasy, like manifestation
Like
of
metaphysical, like
yeah,
yeah.
like it was a spiritual thing, and that's what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like elevating and like letting go and cutting off, and then like I moved, like I was in one place and I moved to another place, but it felt like the new place was better than the last place because the last place was holding me down.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
And
it
when
felt
you
like.
and when you brought it back down to when you brought the balloon back down to the ground, it's a brand new perspective. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know that all of these things were underneath you the whole time, and all that you had to do was be able to see that they were there so that you could go explore them.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do like a more intimate one. I feel like the headphones kind of had me like lost in my head too, because I was hearing your voice directly in my ear, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh
It
yeah,
like
that
a
was probably
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It's like I feel like I'm in the Matrix.
It's like Inception.
And my
A dream within a dream.
Like a dream within a
my
dream within
my
a
balloon
dream.
color was like a mint green,
Oh, that's cool.
and I think that's like my new favorite color right now because painting wise, it's like it attracts me so much, that
And
color.
it's such a happy color. Like it's a very inviting color, and like it's attractive. It's a very attractive color. Yeah.
What color did you pick?
Did you have a color?
Blue.
Blue?
Blue.
Like
Yeah.
what kind of a blue?
Like a
Dodger blue.
Dodger blue?
Dodger blue. Kind of like the blue on the wall, like a clear.
Yeah,
Like
almost
that.
like that teal, not
Mhm.
teal, but like turquoise almost.
Yeah,
That's cool.
but it was like a little transparent. Like there was light
Hmm.
that was going through it. That's what it felt like to me.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I would love to do like a one-on-one like reel session.
Yeah, we definitely can.
Because I felt myself holding back a little because I feel like, oh, I'm being recorded. I'm like, all these thoughts are in my head, you know, and I want to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
Like
you
a
know,
level of like intimacy, right?
yeah, I want to let myself go and vulnerable and see where I take myself and not feel like I'm being watched.
Yeah, and
Bye.
totally. Like
Yeah.
it gets more. You do feel more relaxed, I think, in a one-on-one space and environment, and it's totally way more personal. I try to make it somewhat personal for you guys, but
Right.
it gets obviously even the personal things that you're bringing out probably aren't
Mm-hmm.
as deep as you might want to go if you didn't feel that there was an audience. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
That felt good though. Felt relaxed.
Yeah.
I haven't meditated in a long time, and that felt like meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yeah.
get back on that too.
That really helps with like focus and like just meditation really helps. Well, so does this with like focus and giving your mind something to do.
Right.
Well, I think this is a perfect way to segue to this episode, and I want to thank you again for coming back and kind of giving us a more in-depth like rundown of what you do and what it actually looks like. Because for me, I'm a visual person, so I have to like it has to be detailed for me, and I have to kind of be able to see what the process is. I always tell people like I'm a numbers person. Like I want to know what something costs, and for me, like I want to know what this form of therapy looks like because we have to be able to visualize what we're doing, and I think this is like a perfect way to like introduce anyone that might be interested or anyone that you know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think too, for whoever who does watch this, if they did the little treatment, leave comments and see how you
let
felt.
Us know.
Let us know
Let
how
us know
you
how
felt.
you
Like,
felt. If your
did you
balloon
go
had a
there
color.
or did you just watch us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Yeah.